It's true. And maybe it's haunted. Creepy Tales by Icy Tales. They say that sleep paralysis is merely a product of your imagination, that the realistic, shadowy human forms you see can't harm you in any way. But what if one night during an episode of sleep paralysis you start to think that this figure is as real as it gets? Here's the story about Lily, a young lady who started living in a new apartment which was located in a nice and quiet old building. It is safe to say that she already knew what sleep paralysis was since she had been suffering from it since she was a child. However, it appeared to have a more sinister overhang ever since she moved in. Every night there would be weight on her chest. It was the case when one's body is lucid dreaming and is unable to move. But this never became the case before. There's the recurring point. She started noticing figures which were faintly registering from the crease of her eye, but that was when she was dreaming. But one night a shadow appeared which made her think otherwise. Although she had the same weight on her chest, her consciousness locked and her body stiff, she found something terribly different. It was that sensation of being locked in a room, a hint of uneasiness. Alas, screaming came to her rescue and woke her up to reality. But that was not enough to get her body to move. All she did was let her body be still while her eyes were open up fully. Only then did she see it, a face barely 4 inches away from her, thin, pale, and bony. Her heart raced as she witnessed what she thought was a common apparition and another incident of sleep paralysis. The face appeared to be thin, eyes wide open, and met her gaze, completely frozen. However, this time, the figure did not appear to be forgetting her like in her other episodes of paralysis. This time it was real, and it was moving. She remained transfixed, and watched as the mysterious figure almost imperceptibly retreated beneath the bed. It was not so bad, and she tried to persuade herself that it was simply the paralysis acting up, but deep inside she felt it was something more sinister. She leapt out of bed to a sitting position, breathless and filled with disgust by the oppressive metallic smell that hung in the air. For a second, everything in the room was quiet. Everything in the room was filled with a stench filled of fear and disgust. Various episodes filled with same themes, disturbing and ominous smelly dreams, frightful thoughts of something trying to burrow beneath her bed, accompanied by sleep paralysis episodes, were a routine for Lily's night. In these conditions, she found difficulty in perception as she had no framework to draw from, and so blamed exhaustion or stress on herself. However, she did feel the eerie presence hanging in the air and remained doubtful. In the span of a singular night, she was once again plunged into sleep paralysis. Eyes shut, she tried to remove herself from the familiar place forcefully. But then she felt a hand pressing against her arm, a bony and cold hand. Her eyes widened, and there it was, inches away from her all along, a man with his hand enclosing around her wrist. In that moment, she was sure of it. This was not the feeling caused by sleep paralysis. The foul odor of his breath was one thing, but the freezing touch of his fingers embedded against her skin was another. She managed to pull her arm out and free herself from the tight grip of the shadowy figure, who seemed to have retracted back, melting into the space under her bed. Still trembling, she leapt out of the bed only to feel her whole body shaking, covered in terror. As the horror of not knowing began to settle in, she quickly turned on her flashlight and placed it beneath her bed. The prospect of light at the end of the tunnel soon faded as it only revealed darkness. However, out of nowhere, she was able to spot him. Sitting crossed-legged, he was shooting daggers at her with his disturbed and soulless eyeballs. It turns out something that seemed ludicrous all along was the truth. This man had been watching her every night, slumped beneath the insides of her bed. Lily ran out of her apartment and called the police. When the police responded to the scene, there he was. He was a burglar who had broken into so many apartments before, lying in wait for his victims to fall asleep. He had the look of a man who only cares about being treacherous to women. When the officers started to take him away, he looked at Lily with a masked grin and said, "I thought you'd never wake up." For weeks, she couldn't sleep, knowing that her sleep paralysis wasn't a figment of her imagination, but rather something real that had been hiding under her bed all along. Even now, on certain occasions, she is afflicted with sleep paralysis, but thankfully, there are no more apparitions. But she can't shake the feeling of being watched, of a hand slowly creeping up the side of the bed and waiting, just waiting for her to shut her eyes once again. So, the next time when you're having trouble moving your limbs because of sleep paralysis and are lying in bed, just remember, sometimes the shadows aren't all in your head but rather somewhere dark hiding away waiting to emerge. If this story kept you awake tonight, then make sure to like and subscribe to our channel for more unnerving stories. Sweet dreams if you dare.